Now then, it was the Jim Donaldson derby.
Jim Donaldson.
That's a man
Jim
that we all
Donaldson.
know who supports both Arsenal and Newcastle.
Or Mikel Merino derby, of course. Newcastle United 1, Arsenal 2. They did it, Jim!
Yeah.
They did. Been saying, quite consistently this season in those bigger games, and the away games in particular, that wanted to see a bit more attacking intent and a bit more kind of pro-action from Arsenal, and that's exactly what they got. And it was a much better performance than those other away performances so far. It feels like that's been a little bit timid before, and this fixture last season was night and day for this. I mean, Arsenal just didn't turn up in it at all. They were terrible last season. Probably the worst performance of the season.
They were never going to be that bad, but they can be bullied, I think.
Yeah,
Newcastle
absolutely.
fixtures
But
at
I
home.
think part of that is when you get a big physical attritional encounter like that, part of it is managing it emotionally, right?
Yeah.
And there were times where I thought, they've just fallen into that trap again, and they're
first
not
half,
doing that.
Arteta was a mess.
He was absolutely. He was all
looking
over
at
the
the
shop.
iPad, running over, shouting at the fourth
Is
official.
he playing Angry Birds?
I don't know what he was.
They're doing it again.
Yeah.
Big meaty men slapping me, and I'm scared.
Yeah. But they managed that really well, and they kind of essentially got stuck into that battle.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought they were really, really good. Obviously, Trossard hits the post in the first half. Nick Pope had a really, really good game.
He made some great saves.
Amazing save, the first one from Eze.
Yeah.
And Eze was brilliant.
Yeah, he was. And
What a
also,
run.
I'm really impressed by the strength Eze has in that position, because obviously I'm assuming part of the reason he's gone for Merino in that midfield ahead of Eze in some previous games is to keep that kind of physicality up. But he can handle that. He can play that sort of game. And I was very, very impressed by that.
I thought it was a really fierce, competitive game. I think it was the most competitive Premier League game of the weekend for sure. It felt really intense. It
Felt like a fight.
and it felt like Newcastle had set out, as they have before, to really give Arsenal an examination.
Yeah.
Like to really say, we're going to play to our strengths here. We've got this amazing crowd behind us always, and we feel like we've got Arsenal's number, right? And for Arsenal to stand up to it, I thought was like genuinely really impressive. I thought that there were times when it felt like Arsenal might crumble. They might kind of buckle under it.
Well, Gabriel did, of course, for the opening
I
goal.
thought Gabriel had a really, really strange game.
That 1-0 scoreline to me at one point, it's like, this feels like a really uncomfortable pair of slippers that I hate, but insist on wearing.
But I find Gabriel, of course, at his best, is really, really good. He's like a really, really good
He's
defender.
one of the best defenders in the world.
Yeah, he's brilliant. But sometimes I think he makes odd decisions.
Yeah, I think this is part of what we're saying about the emotional side of the game, because he's got massively caught up in that. So he had an exceptional game on one hand and a mad one on the other.
Totally agree.
Some of those
Maybe that was a bit over the top. One of the best defenders in the world, certainly in the league. He was up there.
Yeah,
you're right. He can be so good. Whereas that with the goal, he can head that away.
Yeah,
I
don't think he
can't-
can head it away. I think part of the problem why he's kind of involved himself in that ridiculous carry on is that he wasn't set properly when the ball came in. So I don't think he's able to get up and head it away.
Right.
So he's made that daft decision to pretend he's been fouled.
It's a red flag always when particularly centre halves look to referees to bail them out of physical situations. You see it all the time when defenders are running back towards their own goal with a striker with them and they come together. It never used to happen really. The defenders would go down. They'd always try and be strong. And I think if you're asking the referee to make a decision for you there, particularly with something as quite as frivolous as that really, you deserve everything you get. And Voltemade is going to give you, to use that word again, a big examination. I mean, he's powerful. He's I think Pete said a while back, he does drop deep and likes to get involved in the play, but he's still very powerful in the penalty area.
Oh, he's massive,
Yeah,
isn't he? If he's not getting something on that header, there's a real problem. I mean, it's kind of... there were a lot of handballs. There were a lot of VAR decisions to be made in this football match, and I thought that was going to overshadow the entire thing. But in the end, it was quite a cleanly and keenly contested
What did you make
fight.
what did you make of the penalty decision that was overturned?
I think it is the least. I think it's the most penalty-ish non-penalty I've seen in a long time.
It's hard, isn't it? Hard to work it out.
Well, as in you thought it probably.
I thought Newcastle got away with that. And
really?
You thought it was more of a penalty than Josh King at Aston Villa.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah.
I mean, that was crazy.
We're not talking about Fulham
But
today.
I think
bloody hell.
But I think the problem was that it just took a long time for it to decide on the WhatsApp like Luke was doing.
I thought the aforementioned Joe Hart actually did a nice bit on that.
I didn't see him. I didn't see that.
Where he said, actually, if you look, and he explained, he gets enough on the ball for it to change direction.
Yeah.
And then Pope plants
So he's definitely
his foot.
he's not getting sent off at that point. That's
No,
the
he
problem.
plants his foot on the ground, and then Gyökeres goes into his knee, and he's
Mm.
saying that as his foot is then planted on the ground, it was deemed that he wasn't using a forward motion.
Right.
So it was like Gyökeres is then deemed to sort of run into him, and so very sort of technical.
Milliseconds, isn't it?
Well, this
Really,
is
yeah.
it, isn't it? In these situations, once I saw the replay and I saw that he got a touch for it, I thought that will be overturned.
Right.
And part of the thinking is because once he gets the touch on the ball, right, he's essentially made a tackle, right, and then anything that happens after that happens so quickly that there's nothing either player can do about it, unless it's like excessively violent, which it wasn't. It was absolutely a sort of reasonable amount of force and of contact from Nick Pope. And I think you just got to give him credit for essentially making a save with his foot there.
Yeah,
It's on the borderline. I totally see
that's
that, but
because
I
it was so
understand the
quick. I
decision.
think that's why I think Nick Pope got away with it a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Like, because he has been
I don't
known to
think
sort
Pope
of make
knows-
magazines. He didn't know much about it.
No, exactly. And I think that's possibly an interesting angle to it. It's not that Pope
the intention.
plays. No, exactly. And so there have been decisions earlier this season, I'm sure, that have been similar to that. Was the Robert Sanchez one for Chelsea against Man United a bit like that as well?
Yeah, but that was a lot more excessive, wasn't it, in terms of the force of it?
Yeah.
Which is the whole point, right?
Yeah, but he did get the ball first.
Yeah, but he got a lot more of the man though, didn't
Can't
he?
be a penalty, of course, because he was nowhere near the penalty area.
yeah.
But I'm just
Say what you like about that challenge. I wasn't in the penalty area.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Not a pen.
I was away from home.
Yeah.
I just felt like from on behalf of I'm not an Arsenal fan, but trying to empathise with the Arsenal fans would have felt like that winner could very well be a massive moment for them. I mean, it's very early in the season, of course. It's not like you're doing that in April when it's really key. But these things do matter, and I just feel they'll come away from that thinking we've been given a thorough good going over here, and we've still come out the other side and we've got 3 points on a weekend where Liverpool lost the game. And I think last
they
season
were terrible at that last season.
Yeah, someone said last season. I don't think Arsenal at any point took any advantage of any of Liverpool's drop points or something like that. Some of the stats were quite interesting.
Let me ask you a question then. I know it's early days, but was this the weekend where the titles won and lost? No, but certainly.
Yeah.
Spoken like a
not?
true person who predicted Arsenal to win the league this season.
I'll tell you something.
No, he's
I'm feeling
fucking- he's
They're
fucking
up to second, and he's like, cash in.
Fox Mulder. It's fucking Fox Mulder. I want to believe.
Look, yes, indeed, you're right to say that Liverpool are still top of the league in any title talk, but I think that your mind does ever so slightly glance there and think, for some reason, this weekend feels I'm like 5% more confident that Arsenal can properly mount a title challenge here.
Yeah.
And it was a big weekend for that because what you just said is absolutely true. And we give Liverpool all the credit in the world for finding a way to win a match, right? And as you should do, and as we have done this season. Arsenal won the damn game. And I think you said, whether it was on this show or in our WhatsApp group, Jim, it's like last season, they just don't win that game.
No, absolutely not.
Because even when Mourinho scores the equaliser, you think, a little bit like Manchester City, when they get that equaliser much later, you kind of think,
header, by the way.
Lovely header.
Lovely glance.
Lordy.
You think to yourself, okay, fair enough. You're probably not going to lose the game now. So therefore, that's obviously a better result than a loss. But you're thinking, but the way Arsenal played, the efforts they had off the post, and so, are you going to be going, it's still a draw though? It feels maybe like 2 points lost. But then Gabriel nods in.
I think part of it was the sort of attritional nature of that fixture and what it's become as well. They really wanted to win that game.
Yeah.
And it was personal almost. And it became, obviously, you want the points, but that was an extra little bit of fuel for that. Completely agree. I think, last season they don't win that game. They don't manage to turn a draw into a win from that point. And it's a difficult one. It's an interesting point Arsenal find themselves at now because they've had a difficult start. You've got Anfield away and St James's Park away, along with Man City at home. So that's a bit of an MOT in itself. Now, they've lost at Anfield where they got a point last season. They've drawn to City where they won last season. They lost this game last season and they were terrible. And they get a win. So it's like, okay, that sort of redresses the balance a little bit. I was thinking before this game, if they don't get the result there, you probably look at those games and think that's maybe a C. I think maybe a B- B now. So it's the performances are getting better. The midfield's starting to gel.
Don't let the nerds get involved in football anymore, Jim. Giving out grades now.
I was saying the other day, there's a lot of people where, even away at Manchester United, Anfield, you said I want a little bit more, just a little bit more.
I completely left Old Trafford out of that. That's
Yeah.
how far they done fallen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel that
It's a
actually
lovely holiday now, that.
well, indeed, and it would have been funny because as you mentioned, we got that little bit more.
They substituted better as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
it's been
they
great with
also
subs so far.
but they also got the result because giving a little bit more but we didn't win the game. Giving a bit, you do feel that surely now that the sort of general encouragement or whatever be the word, the confidence they'll gain from this, the feeling that will give them is going to be massive, and it's like right. This league title is up for grabs this early in the season. Of course it is. But we see Liverpool. You've got to take advantage now. Any point you can get over your rival going for that race is very important. Liverpool looked a little bit shaky against Palace. So this is the time to do it because if Liverpool click and they sort it out, again, that team looks frightening.
Yeah, can I make one point of order before we move on, which is that I spent quite a lot of time when Harry Kane was still in the Premier League talking about the way he backs into defenders when they're jumping up to head the ball. It's really dangerous and it shouldn't happen. William Saliba's challenge on Tino Livramento was also really dangerous. It looks like Livramento might have quite a serious injury off the back of it.
Yeah, a lot of weight on his knee.
Given that he's had a cruise ship before, I think Livramento, hasn't he, a few years ago, I think that's something that, if possible, the referees could spend a little bit less time worrying about fine details of VAR decisions and a little bit more time protecting the safety of the players in that situation. I think we'd all appreciate it because if Liverman's out for the rest of the season now with a knee, that's really, really disappointing. He's a great player. He's had a really good start to the season. England interest there as well. It's absolutely needless from Saliba to do it. I don't get why players aren't getting clamped down on doing it. It's not having a go at him in particular. A lot of players do it. Just that was the example we saw at the weekend.
Yeah,
Charlie made the point. Charlie made the point that Livramento is 6 foot tall, but he doesn't look it because the rest of the team is massive.
Also, you if someone is playing fullback, Dan Burns is a poor example because Dan Burns on the other side from Newcastle. But you think of someone playing fullback, you start to assume they're shorter.
Yeah.
5'7" creek.
It's a short position.
One of the weird things of seeing Gabriel and Nick Voltemade argue is we all know how massive Gabriel is, and Voltemade towers above him. It's incredible.
I talk about game management in this game. I'm not a big bet man, but I did wait until halftime, put on a 5-man bet on Joe Linton get a yellow card. So
free
salve
money
for my wounds.
Well done, Peter.
Because that was nailed on.
Excellent stuff. And you spent it all on sweeties, probably.
Yeah, no, just look at it and go, that's mine.
Nippy
That £10 mine.
Nippy sweeties.